Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back to Loud, Confused, and Ready. We are your hosts, Sam,
Cam,
Kip,
Elliot.
Speaking of animal, cruelty in both ways. I don't know how that works, but the Cincinnati Zoo situation. You guys are all caught up on this. With the,
Hey, speaking of animals,
yeah,
I wonder if that's coming across.
Yeah, there's about to be some animal cruelty coming in pretty soon.
speaking of animal cruelty, I'm going to go beat my animals.
Pause audio.
All right, Cincinnati Zoo, right? So I got the gist of this, and I've heard quite a bit of flack, but I've intentionally stayed away from the Facebook discussions and any of like the BuzzFeed style HuffPo type.
They're pretty
discussions funny. And stuff. Well, like,
so there's some people get so fired up about issues like out of nowhere. Like here's people living their lives day in, day out, not giving two shits about gorillas, and then one gets shot at the zoo.
And then
we shouldn't have zoos. Like,
how can we do this to animals?
Now
you just went to the zoo last week and bought 3 T-shirts.
How could this happen? So how do for anyone who doesn't know, which I'm pretty sure doesn't exist, I think everyone's kind of caught up.
I didn't find out until like 2 days ago.
A kid climbs in there.
Climbs/falls into a gorilla pit.
Climbing in and around the exhibit and then falls in, apparently. And then some guy goes to save the kid and shoots the animal. Is this all correct?
Well, that's kind of... So there's a little bit more... I saw the video of... I don't know if did you see the video?
Nope.
Okay, so there is video of it that is taken. So the kid falls in, the gorilla goes over to him and is just kind of like poking around a little bit, just kind of looking at him, and then he grabs his arm and drags him through the water. Like he's just... It almost looks like he's trying to help the kid, like he's trying to get him over to safety or something, like he's just doing what he would do with one of his kids. But it's a... human baby, so he doesn't realize that, so he's dragging him. He could be hurting him really bad. The kid is still conscious and fine once he gets dragged.
How old was the kid?
4 maybe.
I think it was like
very
3 or
young.
4.
Yeah. Very young. So really can't blame anything on him. I mean, personally, I don't think he's too young.
Agreed.
So that's as far as I wanted to watch in the video, because I didn't really want to watch any further because it was pretty bad. But essentially, it looked like it kind of like let up on him a little bit, and it looked like it was gonna start trying to help get him out of there or something. But then one of the people from the zoo stepped in and shot it straight through the head.
Okay.
And they were able to.
So I've heard some what I believe to be some ridiculous commentary on this already, and that is why didn't you trank it? It's a racial issue because the kid was black.
No, the kid was white.
The racial issue was the joke because it was a black gorilla.
Yeah, if it was
if it would have been a white
gorilla,
they wouldn't have shot.
Well, the actual
joke.
The actual commentation was that it was an actual black family. Like it was the. So they must have just been wrong.
Maybe.
What I'm hearing.
I don't know. I couldn't tell. I didn't get a good enough look at the kid to know.
Okay.
A lot of people just assume shit like that without even hearing the
story.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's make this a racial show. It's like somebody shot a gorilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not
literally just rescued a person. Like, I don't.
So, did the kid live or did he die? I thought he died.
The kid was fine.
The kid's fine.
The kid was fine.
He got dragged through the water, and then his savior got executed, and then they carried him out of the fucking pen.
Other commentary was that the gorilla was being gentle for a gorilla, which is kind of what you just said.
Yes.
So that was kind of what I was going to add.
I watched the entire video.
Yeah?
There was no point where me looking at it, like, where I thought that the kid could have been injured. I mean, it was like... I mean, yeah, he was pulling on his arm, but the kid also probably didn't weigh very much, and he was just kind of dragging him around in the water. Like, I guess it's objective when you look at it, but I mean, the kid, once he set the kid down, the kid was just kind of like sitting there, like he wasn't like, "Ow, my arm," or like, "I'm dying." You know what I mean? He was just kind of like, "Oh shit, what's going on?"
Probably shaking because he was dragged through water by a gorilla.
And then they were just like, "Pa pa 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 pa."
So my thoughts are,
real quick. Kip just held his hand sideways, so apparently a gangster shot it. It was
a drive-by.
Yeah, it was a drive-by.
Dude had one of those little like zoo golf carts with the like camo print on the side, and you roll through there. It's like, brat, brat.
My hood. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, kid.
That's okay. So my thought is they must have a protocol in place at the zoo if this happens.
Yeah.
With an open exhibit such as this is something they have to prepare for. They have to have steps involved on what to do. And that, what they did, I assume, is what they were supposed to do. Yes, the gorilla could have been being as gentle as all get out, but this is a multi-1,000-pound beast that does not know its own strength compared to this child.
Yes.
And could easily snap its neck with the flick of a finger.
Plus, they're territorial.
When I said
And-
that I didn't feel like the kid was getting hurt, I don't want that to come off like I thought they shouldn't have done what they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
a good clarification.
I agree with everything that happened, other than the parents allowing their child to do a sweet flip into a fucking gorilla.
The real fault is on the
blame
parents.
is on the parents. That's always where the blame is.
Yep.
In situations like this, it's not the zoo's fault that they let their kid go on the fucking
Nope.
pad.
Yeah.
It's not the zoo's fault that the gorilla dragged him around in the water. It's not the zoo's fault that they decided that the life of a child was more important than the life of a gorilla.
Yes. Which is
probably a decision they made when they opened the zoo.
Exactly. And they have a system in
They
place.
said, okay, well, let's look in the book here. It says shoot the gorilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because,
let's go shoot
we
the gorilla.
tranquilize it. It takes 3 minutes to kick in, and he falls on the
That
kid.
was and then it starts not even
getting
that,
pissed.
because you shoot him with an 8-inch syringe.
He's going to be pissed.
He's going to be pissed, and he's still got the kid within reach. And what do you think is going to happen?
There is literally,
He's
as
gonna
far as
probably
I'm
go,
concerned,
yeah,
there
I think this
is
kid's involved.
there is no other option, in my opinion, in
Yeah.
that situation.
Elliot, what do you
just
think?
let the situation play out. Just let the kid live there.
I was trying to look up because I had saved a post from a woman who's actually worked with gorillas in the past and whatnot, but it looks like her what she had stated has been taken off of Facebook. But she was going into detail about how Harambe was definitely not trying to protect this child. The male gorilla in a pack of gorillas, like, its job is to protect the pack. They tried to move all the gorillas inside, like with treats to try to coerce them to come inside and away from the child. Everyone went in but him. He had the kid in the corner. He was like kind of putting him out and displaying him is how she was explaining it, which is what they do for like an intimidation factor.
Right.
He had his lips were really tight, and some other things that he was doing to display like dominance or try to intimidate.
Yeah.
And so he grabbed the kid by like the leg or the arm and ran through a couple feet of water. So definitely the discussion when the response team showed up would have been if they tranquilized it and it took a minute to kick in, the kid could have been dropped in the water. A gorilla lands on top of him. They both would have drowned. So I definitely think they took the right steps. I wish that was still on Facebook so I could read exactly what it said, because it was a really, really well done argument.
Speaking of Facebook, we'll talk later on a different session about the censoring that Facebook and YouTube have been doing, but that'll be another one. So for instance, this would be a pretty good discussion where they have been known to step in and do it, even though their terms of service say they don't.
They're also being pressured by like Europe, if I remember correctly.
Who they?
Facebook,
Okay.
Yahoo, YouTube, Twitter. They've all kind of been, and I don't know a lot about this because I just saw something briefly about it, but the gist is that they're starting to want them to censor like hate speech and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what we'll talk about in a later topic. So we should put a pin in, and you should do more on that type of deal. But there's there's an issue because we're the only nation with protection of free speech. It's not anywhere else. It's something unique. There are other ones that say that you have free speech, but there's no actual protection of it, and there's no actual
It's not a fundamental
enforcement of it.
Right.
Getting back to the zoo, I'd like to speak a little bit on this because I kind of feel in a way with zoos as I do with like old time circus type of situations, that I don't think that zoos are atrocious in the way that they take care of their animals by any means. For the most part, it's like broad.
There's obviously outliers.
Yeah, there's exceptions. But I believe that, and I think that a lot of them are doing this now, but I believe that for a zoo to have an animal, I think that it should have very much been like the way that we were talking about having a pet, where it won't survive away from enclosed helpful areas, right? And you shouldn't go out to find healthy animals to then cage.
Sure.
And then if they are able to be rehabilitated and stuff, you can, like, for by all means have them in your zoo for that time and then go release them, type of deal. So they would work like rehab centers where you would have the permanent residents that will always be there, and then the ones that will come in and out. You're smiling. What's going on?
So Free Willy.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. So
which is exactly the premise of that, basically.
Exactly. Because there is no real reason why we should have lions in the US unless they can't live on their own.
Agreed.
But what if people really want to see them?
Okay, television. Or you go to...
No, in person.
Or you pay the money to go see them.
I am all for supporting zoos because I love zoos, and I think they're a great family event and stuff like that. And only people with families can go to it. People who are single can't, obviously. They belong in nightclubs and, disco raves with their...
Is there anything more depressing than walking around a zoo by yourself?
I do think that zoos are...
Hey, Phil, what are you doing? Being lonely.
I do think that zoos are
monkeys.
Zoos are a nice way for people to get educated on animals as well, though. I mean, you're not going to get that kind of experience watching a show on TV.
Right, but you still have so for instance, if a lion can't live on its own, then you could do, as a zoo, you could do a bidding and whatnot, and you could have that lion at your zoo, right? And you could have a couple of them, whatever, because you want to do the pairs meeting and stuff like that. And you still have exotic animals at a zoo, but you shouldn't have them at the zoo if they're able to live on their own. Agreed. I think.
Do you have any idea how much that happened? Like,
I was gonna say, I think that's probably a pretty consistent policy for.
I feel like that should be the policy. I don't know for sure if that is the policy, and how many people might forgo that in the shady part of zoos. I don't know how many shady zoos there are. Like, I feel like to be a zoo, you have to have a lot of permits and a lot of checks and a lot of everything. So I don't know if I've ever really even seen a shitty zoo.
Yeah, like I don't think we could just be like, let's start a zoo.
Yeah.
And they would be like, okay, we'll ship you 5 lions now. Lions that we caught that could live on their own. But instead, we're going to give them to those guys.
Yeah,
because they know.
I'm
sure they know.
It's a petting zoo only consisting of poisonous frogs.
I think probably most zoo animals now too are either transferred between zoos, so they've been living in captivity, or born into captivity. So, and a lot of people might argue that when you're born and live in captivity, that you're not going to be able to survive on your own, which is
totally valid.
Yeah, and that's valid, and that's why I prefaced it by saying that I think that maybe many of them already do this, and then I went on to say,
no, I agree with everything you say, and I think that's how they do it, but I don't have any facts to back that up. I would hope.
There's a lot of situations too where, like, in a situation like that, like when you want to rehabilitate them, you might be doing exactly the opposite, which is like if an animal is injured and they have to take it to the zoo for a while to so it'll live.
Right.
And then the animal's like, oh, all I have to do is just sit here, and then every day a piece of meat falls from the sky or whatever. And then they go, oh, okay, cool. So I don't have to ever be a hunter again. And then they release them out into the wild, and then they go and sit down and wait for the meat to fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that can happen. I don't know how common it is, but within one lifetime of one animal, they can be taught to not be able to live in the wild.
I think rehabilitation probably has different steps to it.
Maybe like a decade or so, I could see that. But like, for instance, our cat, Evil, he has his claws. He's all good to go. He runs outside every time my wife opens the door. When I'm at the door, he doesn't, because I scare the shit out of him, and he knows now. But she opens the door. She's normally busy. She has a bunch of stuff that she's carrying in her out, whatever. And he takes off. Now he, being an inside cat, pretty much all of his life, we rescued him when he was weeks old. He could live outside. He could live just fine, and we've had him for 4+ years, at least 4 years. So, you have even bigger animals.
What are his natural predators around here?
What's a lion's natural predators in the wild?
That's a good question.
Oh, they're lions.
Hunger.
No, hyena, but it's mostly hunger, which is the same thing for most captive animals, I believe. But like, I do think that if they've been in captivity for most of their lives, they're probably not going to be, acclimated to be set free, and that's fine, and transferring and stuff like that. But I do think that if you, after a few years or whatever, you put them out in the wild, instinct will kick in. They'll have to learn the territory and the smells, just like any other lion who gets kicked out of their pride. And I'm only speaking of lions right now, but they'll.
What if it was a tiger?
Oh shit! I don't know.
Or a bear.
I'm not prepared for this. I'm not prepared for this.
And welcome to the podcast.
Camp's joining us from the Bravo channel.
Yes.
I was gonna say it was George Takei that jumped into our podcast real quick.
Real quick, I wanted to say on the parents watching their kids, right? Mm-hmm. I will speak to the fact that it's super easy to look away for a quick second and your kid to be completely fine. But on the same respect, having raised a kid to 5 years so far, it's also equally easy to keep a hand on your kid and to watch them. Now, if you're saying, oh, well, they, maybe if they had like 4 kids or whatever, and you have a whole herd or whatever, then you need to bring enough adults. A whole herd. Yeah, man. Well, I grew up in a family of 4 kids, so it's a family of 6 total. And we were all bastards, but like in the public, we were pretty much well behaved, because if we weren't stuck together, with the family, you'd always get in trouble. There was always, hell to pay type of deal. So
yeah, it's not just about paying attention all the time, because nobody can do that. Right. It's about, teaching your children properly that just because you're not looking doesn't mean they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Don't be an asshole child.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to say that. I don't have any kids, obviously, but
it's easy for anyone to say.
When we were kids, that we knew not to fuck around, because our parents told us, and they were very clear about that. And I don't, obviously different things work for different people, but it's just, that's the point you need to work towards. If you're not there yet, then don't take them near gorillas.
Don't take them near gorillas.
I think what it boils down to is the fault lies with the parents for this one, but I don't want to place heavy blame on them at the same time.
You want to have some sympathy, some grace about
right,
the situation,
exactly. It's a really tough situation, because they just had they got there. They understand now. They're never going to let that kid out of their sight again. Yeah. Ever.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. If they are any sort of have any sort of intelligence or decency, they will learn from that experience. Yes. And hopefully many others will too.
And perhaps that kid has as well.
Yes.
Maybe he'll go.
And and
cause also, and effect. Maybe I shouldn't jump into gorilla cages.
Right. CNN has reported that there's a police investigation into the family. For that situation, I don't know if that's
too
much. Too far.
That's too much. That's exactly
that being necessary. Really.
Yeah. Thank you for finding that, because that's exactly what I was saying. That's what I don't want. Yeah. Yes, the fault lies with them, but I don't want it. They've already got plenty of shit, I'm sure, for it, so they don't deserve any more.
Yeah, I think that legal action should happen if that happened again from the same family.
Yeah, right.
like for the first family, go
that is appropriate.
And then maybe having some sort of fundraiser or something to like replace the gorilla, or however that works, you know what I mean, like some sort of like
a
reparation sale? Because it is the family's fault that gorilla is dead now. It's not the gorilla's fault, it's not the zoo's fault, like we all said, it's the parents not paying attention.
It's a little bit the zoo's fault. It's slightly the
for
zoo's
pulling
fault.
the trigger.
Well, that and building an enclosure that a 3-year-old can get into and fall 20 feet.
Yeah, that was going to be my other question, is so
I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to make that not accessible to kids if you just like what I don't know what the enclosure was, but I guess a 3-year-old's not a fucking genius. Like, I guess, or just make it plexiglass or whatever instead of a thing that a kid can crawl
like a rail.
A lot of these zoos are trying to make like a seamless experience where you can look down and see it in its natural environment, and you're not looking through a chain link fence or through a dirty plexiglass.
How often does this happen? You know what I mean? Like, to make those changes, to request those changes and make that a thing, how often does this happen that would be a thing?
That one's kind of a weird situation, but I feel like from the start you should make it so at least small children can't access the animals.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, just when you're building a zoo in general, you just say, we don't want people to go in here, and then make
it's like
that
they have to put
a
signs
reality
up or something.
Yeah.
You could have like a 5-foot drop below like the ledge where you're looking into like a small pit where if the kid did jump in
with the rain core at the bottom,
they're just stuck in this little
get like a person wrangler perimeter,
like a moat, a dry moat.
Dry moat.
We could hang a bunch of nooses, and then when they fall in, the noose will catch them before they go in.
Yeah, perfect.
Hopefully
by the ankle.
I don't know how a 5-foot drop is worse than a 20-foot drop kit, but that must be comparable to nooses.
I'm just saying there's a lot of different colorful solutions we can use.
Colorful. Okay. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Loud, Confused, and Ready. If you like that, please hit the like button and subscribe. Show your support, we greatly appreciate it. We also have other videos that you might like by clicking on this one over here or this one over here. You can also let us know what you think on our Twitter, Instagram, all those things are in the description below. Thanks.